Davis steps under center. Gibson and McClendon behind him. Davis with motion by Richard. Will give the ball to McClendon. He leaps. Oh, he doesn't get in. He fumbled the football. Carolina holds. The game is over. And Carolina has won the game.
Finley to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Wolford again. Wolford the other way at the 30, the 40. Wolford to midfield. Miles Wolford with the pick. The heels on the doorstep of an enormous victory.
Left side of the line. Hood standing to Williams' right. Williams gonna throw. One-on-one. Davis has it. Touchdown. Carolina wins. Carolina is the Coastal Division champion. Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio, he's at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Connor Barth for the possible win. Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good! Carolina has won the game on a 42-yard field goal by freshman Connor Barth. Good gosh, dirty!
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome in to another edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. It is Anthony Pagnotta back with you guys as always, and we continue our quarantine interviews with one of our guys from the last couple of years, Jeremiah Clarke, a guy that was with Carolina from 2015 to 2018, and of course now actually is continuing his playing career up in Canada. But we'll get to that as we go through it. But first of all, Jeremiah, hey man, we're living in just a crazy time right now with everything that's going on with the COVID-19 virus and everything. So, I mean, how are you dealing with it right now, and how are you trying to keep yourself busy during this unprecedented time in our history?
So just doing what athletes do best, and I continue to work out throughout the week at my private trainer who has a gym within his house, so I'm not really bound by, the rules of normal people's gyms. So, we wipe everything down after a rep or after a set, and, wash your hands when you pull up. But I'm still getting work in every day because when this is over, I'm going to have to go play up in Canada. So just trying to stay in shape and do things like that. But I'm also working in Virginia before I go back to Canada. So I work for the city, so I'm kind of good. I work in the Parks and Rec department. Shout out Leslie Nope. But we're just enjoying being inside and the ability to catch up on all the shows I've missed in the last, couple months while I've been just out living life. So it's been enjoyable. I mean, I'm tired of being in the house with all these people, but, it's getting close to the end, I'm guessing, or hoping, praying, we'll see the end eventually.
Right, yeah, no, you're right. I'm doing the same thing as well. Game of Thrones has been my show that I've been going through, which is a great one. But I mean, look, man, I got to first ask you this because I was never able to ask you this during your time at Carolina. Where did you get the nickname Fat Mello? How did that actually start? Because that was my favorite nickname of anybody on the entire team.
I got it in 10th grade basketball. I needed a plaque for the end of the year because we had won districts. And my coach wanted to do something different and put nicknames on the plaques. So I couldn't really think of a nickname that wasn't like a family nickname and that I should ever mention. So I asked my sister for a nickname, and she said I looked like a fat Carmelo Anthony. And at the time, I wore headbands and I had a low haircut, so I kind of did. So I changed all my social media handles to Fat Mello, and the following season, we were playing basketball against a rival, and I'm at the free throw line, and they're chanting Fat Mello. So it kind of just stuck, and I kind of couldn't change it. So it's been Fat Mello since high school.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can remember, all the Tar Heel fans pretty much refer to you as that. I don't even, some of the guys might not even know what your actual name is at this point. But
it's a very common thing. my name. I like to keep it that way. Moving sideways at all times.
I feel you, man. I feel you. But look, you're a name that's definitely worth remembering because you were a 4-year contributor at Carolina, finishing all 4 years that you were there with 30 or more tackles. Your first 2 years were part of a very successful stretch in which the team won 19 of the 27 games that were played. So, what was it like to be part of one of the most successful stretches in Carolina football history, but the most successful stretch here of Carolina football since the turn of the decade?
In the moment, I guess you don't realize how successful the team is. You just enjoy the wins, and you think about and you try to do better on the losses. I think it wasn't until my end of my career where I started to realize we were losing more. That losing isn't fun, not as much fun as winning. You come in to a team that's, looking for a formula. You add a champion caliber coach like Gene Chizik and a lot of great pieces that are still playing today in the NFL. And, you just have a special team. No matter what people want to take away from it, I've had some of my best years with those first 2-year teams, but I've had even more fun on the teams that weren't as successful because, through struggle, you find real teammates. And as much fun as I had on those earlier teams where you're winning and having all the success, you really learn about, people, how people react and who you really are when the chips are down and your back's against the wall and you got to make something out of nothing.
Well, we talked to one of your former teammates, Tyler Powell, about those last 2 seasons, and he kind of said that he thought really nothing really changed mindset-wise. It was just the bad luck of injuries and everything. Is that kind of how you feel as well, or was there maybe an underlying cause that maybe we couldn't see but that you saw in the locker room of something that changed and led to those struggles?
No change. If anything, it's kind of like how USC basketball was this year, just a slew of bad luck and injuries and something you can't prepare for. The team was talented, it had all the pieces. Yes, could we have had better players in better positions? Probably, but who wouldn't say that?
Right.
But from what we had the ability to win. If you go back to those games, we're literally in it to the end. Mm-hmm. In several games, we lose in overtime or in the fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes. So you can say what you want. We were in position to win a lot of those games, right, and we just didn't execute what we were supposed to. So I don't say there was any more of a change, just more of a lack of execution in the big moments, and that's on us.
Well, let's not focus on the negatives. Let's go back to 2016 for the moment that I look at as my favorite moment of your career, and that was the fumble recovery in the game against Miami. What were your memories of that play, a play at the time that sealed just a humongous win for Carolina in a season that was looking at the time like it was going to continue to go in a fantastic direction and potentially lead you guys back to the ACC championship game?
It was a great play. Malik had a beautiful move off the edge. He was able to strip the ball out. And I saw nothing but green grass in the end zone, and I'm more upset that I didn't have a chance to score for Tar Heel fam. But, you live in regret. But it's a great moment. It's one of my favorite plays. Easily top 5. And it's one of the greatest moments I believe I ever had in Carolina history. It's wild. It's literally the epitome of life. It's love. The fact that a teammate from my high school could cause a back or fumble, and I was able to scoop it on the other end. Something we've done multiple times. It was just awesome to see happen on the big stage in the game that mattered against Miami, who I've grown up literally adoring. And even was recruited by, to be able to do that in Miami, insane.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Just a huge win at the time. I was actually still working in the fast food industry, and I remember I was out watching the game and saw that Malik caused the fumble and you recovered it, and was freaking out because I was always one of those guys that really loved seeing you out there, really thought that you were a guy that should have been on the field more and everything like that. So for you to see that moment, I thought was just extremely special and always one that I'll remember. Some of your teammates still remain staying on the team that will come into 2020. If there is a season, which, we can debate that as much as we want right now, but if there is actually a season, who do you think are some of those guys that you played with who could become the breakout players this season for the Tar Heels?
Well, definitely there's a monster at wide receiver, and so is Bo, and so is Diami. Literally, the offense is as stacked as I've seen it in recent years, and if I had actually a chance to throw a helmet on, trust me and believe me, I'd be out there. But as far as defensively and as far as the D-line is what I'm going to really talk about, Tamon Fox, I'm pretty sure he's coming back, and he's going to be the final word as far as D-lineman. Like, give him Stro-level production or even more. I mean, because he's been producing since he's been there. His brother, Justice Fire, Fuego, inside, dog, can literally do it all. And I like the way Coach Bateman has them moving things around down there, the defensive front hunts. Jaleel is another good one. I mean, I'm pretty sure every person on that defensive side of the ball, Chaz, my old roommate, dog, Patrice Renee, like the whole defense has the chance to really snap and do some crazy things. It's just, if there is a season, and I feel like this Corona thing, if anything, has motivated them to be even more on their game. As far as most athletes are. I mean, I feel like athletes right now have to really dig in their bag, quote unquote, just to get in the same amount of work that they would usually get in. So you have to work twice as hard as to get in average work. So it really just puts the difference in between the people who want it and the people who don't. Because if you don't want it, right now is the perfect excuse to stay in the house and watch TV. But if you actually grind and want this more than anything, then there's nothing stopping you. I mean, outside of really coronavirus and the government. But no one's really stopping you from getting that work.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah, no, I think it's going to, kind of like you said, kind of separate the men from the boys in terms of the guys that really want to work and put in the time that they need to. And we'll find it out with this 2020 team when we hear from Mack Brown when these guys get back out there. Who's been doing the work? Who's been, going along with the nutrition plan? Who's been working out the way they're supposed to? Because there is ways to do it. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I think on the defensive side of the ball, like you said, this is a chance for the Tar Heels to be about as good as they've been defensively probably since Butch Davis was on campus in terms of the amount of talent that's there, the guys that fit the scheme well enough. I mean, just from what we saw last year, I feel like a lot of guys really like their fit in the scheme. So, those were some of the names that we heard. I think Tamon Fox, like you said, he's going to have a huge season. Tyler Powell said that as well. So I'm definitely expecting him to step it up and be the leader of that defensive line this year. Now let's go back to you a little bit. Now, of course, last year after you went undrafted, you went and participated in Raiders rookie minicamp last year. What was that experience like for you, especially to be able to be coached by a guy in John Gruden, who we think is just a great guy, a hilarious guy, but also a really tough coach? What was that like?
I mean, it was a great experience. Gruden himself was looking forward to watching me during the camp. From the moment I got there, I spoke to him and, already knew my name, everything I was about, and just really wanted to see what I was going to do in the field. And I feel like I put, at that moment, my best self out there. And, it landed how it landed. There was a lot of talented people out there. And I just, I did the best thing I could do in that moment. And it was a fun experience. Gruden's a great guy. Honestly, I learned a lot about the NFL from the small couple days I was up there. I mean, you don't really get much, but it was just a glimpse of what the professional level of football is like. And like Will Chester to show me what it was, give me a taste. And then, I went home and got to work and just, hit my adult life. But I was able to bounce back, and I got a call like a couple months later. My agent told me to just, stay in shape, keep working out, and he'll worry about the team stuff. You just, live your life. So I got a call from the Edmonton Eskimos, and, I guess from that point, the rest has been history. Just been able to do both throughout the last couple of months.
So what are, going into that 2020 season, what are your expectations for yourself? What are your goals that you're looking to hit as part of the Eskimos in the CFL this year?
Honestly, I mean, as simple as it seems to just make the team and then go from there. I mean, yeah, I've signed and I've made the team, but you got to reaffirm it to the coaches that you're taking this as serious as they are. And I had a call from my defensive coordinator because they just got a new coaching staff in Edmonton. So again, I'm gonna have to prove myself all over again, but I'm willing to do it. I'm looking forward to it. Keeps me on my toes. I guess goal-wise, just whatever they ask me to do, I'm gonna do it above and beyond. It seems like they want me more as a pass rusher, but a person that can move in and out of positions. So I hope to be able to do that to the best of my ability, and obviously to make some plays, turn up in the backfield, hopefully, make a small trek back to the state.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. And we wish you the best of luck. Believe me, you're a guy that was just so exciting to have on campus, not only as a football player, but as a personality. You were always awesome, always loved to interact with the fans, and we are wishing you the best, man. We hope to see you back here in the States, or if not, look, we've got a ton of guys that have gone on and had very successful careers in the CFL, headlined by guys like Darian Durant, Darius Bowman. So there's definitely a chance, even up there in Canada, to have a ton of success. So we wish you the best, man. Stay in touch with us, and hopefully we can have you on down the line as your career continues to advance. All right, man?
Yeah, I got you. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Stay safe.
All right, you too.
All right, Jeremiah Clarke, the former Tar Heel defensive tackle. Great to have him on as part of this exciting series. Guys, we've got so many great guys coming up that are going to be on. I am loving that. I'm not loving that this is going on right now, but I'm loving that I'm at least having the opportunity to go back and talk to some of these guys that played with Carolina. And look, we're not only doing some of the more recent guys. Look, we've had a lot of former guys that are just a couple of years removed from college, 1 year removed. Even had Antonio Williams on, which was really awesome to do that. But we're going to go back even further just a little bit and start to get some of the older guys on. And that'll start with the one that's going to be coming up here in about a week from the time that we air this. And that'll be with former Tar Heel quarterback Chris Kildorf. You guys won't want to miss that. That's going to be an awesome one. But I'm recording this, and I'm actually going to talk to Chris Kildorf tomorrow. So I'm really excited for that. Part of a day where we're going to do 3 interviews in one day. So we got a bunch of former guys reaching out. And I just want to thank them for just giving us the time and allowing me to sit down with them and just talk during this time, giving some human interaction, even though most of them are just hearing me or meeting me for the first time. They've really opened up and really given me some great stories, including Jeremiah right there. So make sure that if you missed any of the other episodes, you go back. As I told you, there's been some great interviews, guys that we've heard from so far. Antonio James, Antonio Williams, 2 former running backs, one of them that's actually trying to get drafted into the NFL right now. CJ Cotman, we heard from Deontay Williams, the former standout safety, as well as plenty of other guys, Tyler Powell, who we mentioned in there. And we're only going to continue. It's going to be fantastic. So make sure that you guys are checking out all of those. We would really appreciate it. The best way to do it is to make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. And the reason we ask you that is because when you rate it and review it, it's going to move the podcast up on some of the platforms. It's going to get it more hits on some of their web pages, and that can help us sort of grow this into something not only that you guys can listen to, but that all Tar Heel fans can listen to, because the bigger it grows, the more people can find it. So we ask for you to help us with that. We'd really appreciate that. And then subscribe. That's for you, so that you can listen to every episode of the podcast, because you don't want to miss it. We've got so much great stuff coming up with all the players. And then once we get back into the season, me and Josh will be back to sort of break down what we expect for what should be just an amazing 2020 year. There are so many expectations for this team, but this is a team that feels like they're going to be able to live up to it, because they've got a guy that could be a once-in-a-generation quarterback for the Tar Heels. So we'll have you covered with all of that. You don't want to miss any of those episodes, so make sure you subscribe. Also, you can head to the website. You can listen to the podcast there as well. You can go and click on the Heel Tough blog podcast tab. If you want to listen to our podcast about the basketball team, the Roy's Boys podcast, that tab is up there as well. But also you can go in there and look at the news that we got for you. There's so much great stuff on the website. Because we're recording this so far in advance, I'm not really going to get into the specifics, but we are covering everything for you on the football front, from recruiting to all of the team news. We'll, of course, have you covered on everything when it comes to the 2020 season, where it will be, or when it will be played, how it will be played. If anything gets adjusted, of course, we'll let you know about that. And of course, we'll have you covered all the way through whenever this team gets on the field in 2020. Same thing with basketball. Whenever they get back on the basketball court, we'll have you covered there. We're still having you covered in the off season as well, though, with all sorts of great features that we're doing on the website. I know they should all be up by now, so go back, check out all of the player reviews. There's also a podcast that ties in with that on that Roy's Boys podcast page that I told you about, so make sure you go back and check all of those out. Of course, we have you covered with everything NBA draft as well with the guys. Cole Anthony potentially going to the NBA draft, as well as a couple of other guys that we'll have to keep an eye on. I think, this is an exciting time for Carolina athletics, even though there is some time off. You're getting to learn a little bit more about some of these guys, and we're going to learn a lot about them, just like Jeremiah said. We're going to learn about a lot of the guys who are committed to this, who are really wanting to get themselves in shape and ready for this upcoming season, because, in all sports, you're going through a little bit of adversity right now, not being able to work out, not being able to go to the gym and get reps. So it'll be interesting. We'll have you covered all on that front on HeelToughBlog.com. Make sure you go there and you can scroll down to the bottom and even subscribe to the newsletter. So that does it for this edition of the Heel Tough Blog podcast. Want to thank Jeremiah Clarke, or Fat Mello as many of you guys know him, for joining us. I want to thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels.